Welcome back to the podcast, guys. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. We had some rain yesterday. I'm just enjoying a great day. I'm your host, Vic.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm your co-host. Welcome back, guys.
I know we have an amazing guest lined up today.
If you're having a good day today, this is only going to be the icing on the cake. And if your day is kind of blah, this is going to pick you up and get you motivated because I am so excited to get on with the rest of my day today now.
I'm beyond pumped to be able to introduce who our guest is today. He's actually calling us all the way from Denmark, and that's pretty far away, guys. For those of you that listen to us on a regular basis, we're here in the United States. This dude is calling us from Denmark. It's like a 9-hour difference, and he adjusted his day to be here, share his story. And he's going to share his journey of a health issue that did not stop him. It actually changed his mindset, and we're going to jump right into it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
His name is Morten Bonde, and we're going to get him on here so you guys can meet him too. Let's go. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me. Well, and my name is Morten, and I work for the Lego Group, and I'm a senior art director. So for many years I've been writing stories about, for instance, the Lego City, the heroes of Lego City, and in 2002 I had just started working in the commercial advertising industry, and I noticed there were some issues when I was watching or seeing, and no one could really tell what was going on. So I was sent to an ophthalmologist and a specialist in Copenhagen. I live in Denmark, and after he examined me for half a day, he quietly told me that I have this genetic disorder called retinitis pigmentosa, which will slowly make me go blind, and there's no cure for this disease. So I was 29 at that point, and I just started my life, and my wife and I had plans for settling and having kids and all that. So this was obviously quite a shock in early stages of all the plans and ideas I had for my career and life. But I kind of decided just to ignore it. It was maybe not a conscious decision, but I simply just couldn't accept that I would have to deal with this at some point. So I just decided to ignore it. And but my wife and I, we got 2 lovely sons, and I continued working in the advertising industry for 14, 15 years without really acknowledging or accepting or dealing with that I had this decision, this condition. And I slowly lost more and more sight. And in 16, when I couldn't continue working any longer as I used to do, because I was using my eyes obviously a lot when I'm a senior art director working, creating content, visual content, and I was at that point I was declared legally blind, and what that means in my case is that I have a central vision that is pretty good, but I can only see through a small tunnel that equals I have a little I think I have something that can show if I could see. But if you stretch your arm in front of you and make a fist, that's a good way. So if you do like this and then look at this fist, that's almost the visual field of approximately 10 degrees. So imagine that you can only see through a small tunnel, and that's the vision I have today. And then I have a little bit of I have a peripheral vision out there, but in here I have a huge area with just flickering bright lights. So. So that's the condition today I'm at. And in 16, I suffered from stress and depression. I couldn't continue working any longer, and I had this through all the years. I basically just slowly lost vision, and something else that I was struggling with and dealing with was this internal voice that constantly kept telling me how dark my life would become and how difficult things would be. So I had this inner negative voice constantly bringing me down, talking really rough language, not not an audio, but thoughts about all the difficult things and all the problems I was facing. And in 16, I had this moment. I remember I was sitting at the municipality office, and at that point I was simply not able to do anything any longer. And I remember having this moment when I was sitting around municipal people, and we were talking about how I was supposed to continue my working life, maybe even retirement plans. And I had this moment. All of a sudden I felt that everything just was lost. I had my identity was so bound in being the person I was. I could drive my sons around. Until 16, I was actually driving around, and I was this person working for the Lego group, and everything was just that was me. And all of a sudden I just felt that all that just died in that room. And I felt that all these identities just died in one big collapse. And then I heard this new voice in my head, and that voice was so strong, and it said, "Morten, what do you want out of life?" So until that point, I had sort of let blindness dictate my life, and I was sort of a victim to that condition. And I had this moment where I saw so clear that I had to do something. So I started researching and looking into how can you change your mindset, and how can you change your perspective on things that you can't really change, but how can you sort of look at your problem from a different perspective. And that was when I started the idea about writing a book. And that book would be, the title was Sentenced to Blindness, Now What? A Journey from Hopelessness Street to Possibility Road. And the fun thing was that I just decided that I wanted to change the way that I was thinking. And I wanted to be a person who can see possibilities instead of limitations. So that book was kind of a project to keep me on the path of, changing the way that I was looking or dealing with problems. So the book is also telling about 4 challenges that I gave myself that I had to complete through 4 months that would help me change that mindset, change the way that I automatically reacted on problems. Instead of just seeing everything as, bad things and, instantaneously labeling something as bad, I had to train myself in creating a pause between when I was labeling something and when I was, identifying something out there. I shouldn't label it. I should stop and feel what was going on in my body, and then make a decision not to label it as bad, but look at it from another perspective. And that became sort of a practice. And you can almost say it's a mindfulness behavior trick. You, instead of reacting on everything that happens, you just create a space within yourself before you just label something. And the book became sort of this testimonial on being the old the old version of myself and becoming this new version of myself.
Okay, so my question for you, so you had this like negative self-talk going on in your head for a lot of years, right? And I think it's really common for a lot of us to kind of ignore our problems because if we don't think about them, then they don't exist. So what made that click happen in your head with that defining moment in 16 when you were just like, I'm done with this, and like that new positive self-talk happened? Was there like a specific
Yeah, it was Yeah, I think it was the experience of something dying inside of me. I felt that it couldn't get worse. You know, this was simply just the most horrible moment of my life. I felt that, you know, I couldn't do anything. I was hitting a wall there. There was no way that I would, you know, come up again. And when I experienced that, I felt that, you know, I was just so light. You know, it was like, yeah, finally, after so many years, I could just breathe. And I felt that, oh my God, if you know, if I can feel almost like I'm dying now, and I'm still breathing, and I feel good, and I just had this knowledge, this knowing that I can create whatever avatar or whatever person that I want to become. The person is not me. The thoughts are not me. I'm something that decides what my thoughts is going to be and my personality is going to be. So I don't know how that came and what it was, but it was just so clear. But I had no idea how to do it. And then I had to go into a very you know, I was studying almost for a year. I was just, you know, I think maybe I was consuming around 80 books within a very short amount of time on the science behind how why are we the people we are, you know, why do we do the things we do, where do all our programs and patterns come from, and how can you change them. So that was an intense research process, and everything sort of ended up being put into this book that is sort of a guide or a, you know, a route description to how people can actually go about this themselves. It's quite tangible examples that I give in the book on what you can change in your everyday life to change the way you think, actually.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the recipe is in the book. But I want to touch on something you said a little bit earlier. Well, first off, I think that you're channeling maybe some of that storyteller that you were when you were working at the Lego group. But for me, I can't wait till I get to tell my nephews who they always come over. And when they would come over, they would play a Nintendo Switch and they would play the Lego games. And someone would be like, you know who helped create some of those storylines probably? So they're going to be excited to know that too. But you talked about self-identity. And I think that's a powerful topic to talk about because we live our day-to-day life. We get so ingrained in the activities that we do on a daily basis. They become mundane for some people, but that becomes our identity, right? Where
Yeah.
we work, what we do on a daily basis, who we hang out with, that becomes our identity. And you talked about losing that identity for a split second as you had your diagnosis, and you were realizing like what's going to happen. My career is now going to be gone. I have to figure out what the next chapter of my life looks like. What would be your best advice for someone else who's going through, whether it's a medical issue, whether it's just that huge life change, whether it's like a divorce or something else, where all of a sudden their identity is completely shattered? What would be your best advice in terms of giving them to make it through that transition?
Yeah. For me, what was really a pivotal moment, or what helped me go through this transformation for me was actually the mindfulness practice. Implementing that in my everyday life, in whatever I did, made me realize that I had a lot of programs that were running automatically that weren't really helping me in any way. Now, I was dealing with stress and depression and impending blindness, and I also had this enemy inside my head that was kind of not helping me in any way. So I would say for people who are stressed out, and everything is just overwhelming, and you can't really see the path in front of you, is to try to be rooted in the present moment. It sounds it's just such a cliche, but it is a cliche because it's ancient, and it's a really powerful and an important skill to master. So I would say, sometimes we think we can think our way out of problems. It's we think and we think and we think, and if I just concentrate even more and think, I will solve this. But a lot of things can actually not be solved by thinking and by acting. Sometimes we just have to get super still and noticing what is going on, maybe or even backwards from the thinking process that we are in, and then stop again, realizing, I'm here, I'm right now. I think that's what happened for me in the municipality office. I simply just existed right there in that moment, and the only thing that was real was me sitting there, and I maybe never felt that present in the moment as I did right there. And that's when I had this, oh my God, I'm just in chaos, and I have to figure out how to be still or be in touch with a deeper part of myself to be able to see where I want to go in my life. And so we have to create that moment of stillness.
No, I love that. I don't think any of that is silly. Vic and I, on the podcast and then outside of this in our personal lives, have talked a lot about personal purpose work and how important that is. And part of my personal purpose is to be present, because I have a million things. Yeah, like I like how you were talking about them as programs kind of running at one time. And so I think that's all very valuable information. And I needed you in my life like 3 years ago to speed this process along. Give me that advice a long time ago, I would be in a much better place already. But I think that's super valuable feedback for anybody, especially given our social climate right now. Just be present is so important.
Yeah, and it's really sometimes difficult to do that. And I think what I try to convey in the book is that, instead of having this idea that I'm gonna change my life, I'm gonna change all my habits, and everything is gonna change. I think what I show in the book is that I took everyday things, like, waiting for the bus, for instance. I'm waiting for the bus, it's pouring rain. My inner voice starts saying, oh, shitty rain and shitty eyes, and oh, I hate this situation. And noticing that is just the first step in changing the whole life. Is that if you notice that moment where you are complaining or where you are feeling something or thinking something that doesn't help you, that's where you have the chance to change this moment or accept this moment. And then you can start looking, okay, how can I create my next moment if I have to accept this moment I'm in right now? And I think we rarely do that, because we always 10 steps ahead. We always, somewhere else in our minds. We rarely realize that we right now can change how we react on things, and also how we impact people and or influence people. And so I recommend finding small things in life, and then look at them and notice that it's the small things that create your inner mood, because it's silly small things often that we are getting angry about or frustrated about, or so there are a lot of there's a lot of acceptance in this moment right now that can actually change the whole life. But it's almost too simple for people, and then again, it's so difficult.
Yeah. So I want to touch on another topic here, and you talked about at the beginning of the book here, I think the very first page, but and it's a topic that we talk about a lot here on Write Your Next Chapter, which is embracing your personal story. And for you had to come to a point where it was like, how and when do I share my story? And I think on literally the first page, you talk about approaching the publishers, and the publishers were not too thrilled, right? Because you didn't share enough of your story, or you shared too much of your story. Can you walk us through kind of what your mindset was in regards to that moment where you were like, hey, I'm ready to share my story, and how much of my story do I want to share? Because I think it's important for people to realize that once you put yourself out there, once you do things like this, where you're sharing your story publicly, something unlocks in your life, and you start to realize that, hey, that's not exactly what defines me. It's who I was, it's who I've become, but it doesn't fully define me. But I want to touch on that really quick about you sharing your story.
Yeah, I think I maybe realized that there is a story that I had to tell about myself, because I came across for many people as a person who just had figured everything out. I was I was in control. I was senior art director character who had his career all figured out and everything, and I had all this inner struggle, and I didn't really share that with anyone. So it was partly about of course journaling the process, but I also realized if I have to get free of this monster inside of myself, I have to expose it, openly. Here it is. It was almost like this shadow coming out of me, and I had to show everyone, here it is. And the more I showed it, the less power it had over me, because I was just exposing it all the time. And I think that's again shedding light on things that you don't want to share with anyone makes it go away in a way. The more you look at it and expose it, the more it vanishes. So I said, I can't have many secrets. Of course, I haven't, I could have told many more stories than I do in the book, but I selected some very pivotal points in my career, maybe that can feel relatable, because they are really everyday scenarios where I just put my eye condition into the equations, and but it could be different things. It could be your own life story where you can look back and say, maybe I didn't handle things really, um, constructively, or maybe there was things I could do different. So I just said, for the first part of the book has to be about my life, and I'm gonna share with people all the the insecurity and all the things that I know. So many people, they have something that is going on. They maybe show or share that they have a huge confidence, but that we all have something. And I just said, no, I'm gonna tell everyone that I was very insecure, and I had self-confidence issues, even though I was this person who was presenting campaigns and doing all that, to just make it, it's okay. When you share that and get vulnerable, you also touch people's hearts and make them feel connected. So I just wanted to share that. And then the second part of the book is, okay, I said, no, how can you get yourself from being this kind of person that always sees, half full glass, and to become a person who can actually, see possibilities in almost anything. And that is the second part of the book. And there's a lot about, mindfulness, meditation, and also a little bit about neurochemistry and stuff like that. But it's on a very layman's level, because I'm not a neuroscientist or psychologist or anything. It's just stuff that I read, and I said, this is how I understand this, and I'm gonna share it with you, and you can believe it, or you can doubt, or you can go check it yourself. And then the third part of the book, I say, okay, now we know all this, and we want to change. How can we implement it into our life? So the third part is about implementing that knowledge into your everyday life. So the book, I was really, really nervous when I was publishing it in Denmark back in 19, because maybe I really hadn't really thought it through. Because when I published it, and 1 week after, I just realized, oh my God, I published a book, a very personal book about, intimate things about myself, and I didn't really think it through. I felt, and I almost regretted that I did it, but I had to just get past maybe 2 or 3 weeks of, oh my God, anxiety and all that. And then I kind of relaxed, because people actually came back to me and said, thank you very much for writing this book. It had a deep impact on me. And I started, there are at least 2 people now who likes the books, and that kind of helped me. And then I decided just to also make it available in English, and publish it in the rest of the world. And everything has been a self-publishing project, which is quite a task, I must say, when I look back.
I was going to say, I think Vic can share some of that sentiment with you with his first project when he released it. There's probably some anxiety there and knowing the struggle of self-publishing.
Yeah, but we're beyond grateful that you decided to translate it to English and get it out to the rest of the world. Because I mean, I picked up the book. I'm just at the beginning of it, but I'm excited to continue to go through it. Mainly because I want to get to that point where you talk about limiting beliefs. I mean, I'm I'm a certified life coach, and that's stuff that I've been taught, as well as stuff that I teach. But limiting beliefs are, they're in everyone's life, and people don't realize that. Um, and so I know that I think you get into it around part 3 where you talk about limiting beliefs, but I want to hear from you, kind of like, what are some of those things that you got to experience? I know that we're still in COVID world. I know that you would probably love to be doing a book tour, and we're grateful that you're on a podcast with us right now because of COVID restrictions. But those limiting beliefs go back to, like, you were at a point where you were like, I'm losing my eyesight. I'm not going to be able to see things the way that I did prior. I'm not going to be able to do things that maybe I thought I was able to do. So what are some of the things that once you got past those limiting beliefs, you got to experience, if anything? I don't know if you've kind of ventured out and did some extreme stuff, or
Yeah, I just looking back now, I must say that this will be a lifelong endeavor to overcome limiting beliefs, because they will always surface in one form or another. And the things that it's kind of paradoxical, but one of the things was to speak in front of people. In being a public speaker was probably the last thing that I imagined that I would be before 16, because I was always experiencing near death experience when I had to talk to an assembly, and it just scared the shit out of me. And well, that was one of the things, but that was really limiting me in my career. So I was so sick and tired of it, but I was always fighting it. So every time I felt that I had to do something, I had this inner voice saying, "Oh, you're so weak, and why can't you be like this guy? And he's doing it so greatly." And when that voice was yelling in my head, the body just freaked out every time. So that was one of the things that I decided to sort of overcome, you can say, in this project. So how can I teach my body to feel joy when standing in front of 300, 400 people, and just enjoy it instead of being scared about it. So that was one thing. And another thing was to develop a habit that stopped myself from telling myself that when I was in a problem, in a situation that was challenging because I'm visually impaired and can't see, then I again had a voice trying to solve the problem by not yelling at me and saying, you just have to do something, go ahead. And just to notice that was the next step in my life, noticing that I had a bad coach yelling in my head, and then change that voice into you're actually doing well. Imagine that you are doing all this with this limited vision. It's amazing. You are amazing. And it works every time I do it. Like, I get my hairs on my arms, they stand right now, so I can create that feeling on command now that has this empowerment. And I think that was also one of the things that I wanted to change about myself. Almost on command, create a feeling of, wow, I can do it. There's nothing that can stop me. And that's that you cannot do that through habituation. You have to do it again and again and again and again, and expose yourself to what it is that makes you scared. And I think a lot of people, they step back from doing that. But I was ready, because I was going blind. I'm going blind. I could live my life in sorrow and sadness, or I could turn around and see the light and just play and be joyful and just the whole world is just a game. I kind of see it like that. I'll take all the seriousness out of everything and just be playful and enjoy.
There were a couple things that you said that I really loved, because I think that the way you put it, that like you have a bad coach in your head, is a way that's very easy to understand. Almost everyone has played some kind of team sport before, and we know how important like that coach, especially at halftime, is a make it or break it. If you're down by 3 in whatever sport you're playing and your coach amps you up, you're going to rally, or vice versa. And so I feel like you've put it in layman's terms that we can all respond to in a little way. We're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, like my own brain is a bad coach and I need to kind of like turn that around. But
Yeah.
I think the way that like when you are now having your vision limited, it seems like you see the world even greater. Like there's like a fun dichotomy there where while you might be becoming more visually impaired, you're seeing more about yourself and the world and kind of enjoying it more. But I think you have found a lot of value in that. And I think that's wonderful that you're able to share that with other people. And so that hopefully it doesn't take a life-changing event for other people to change their life and enjoy it more, and that you have fun with it. So
in terms of family support, I mean, I'm assuming you had some amazing family support, but has your mindset shift made an impact on your kids, or are they too young? But I'm assuming that you've made an impact there.
Yeah, I think I have. People often ask me, I'm a meditator, and and they say, oh, so the whole family you meditate, and actually I'm the only one doing that. So I'm not preaching. I'm really conscious about not preaching. So telling people what they have to do, and if you just do this, and you're fixed. I'm never doing that. And my sons are 15 and 17, so they're teenagers, and they sometimes when I get into it, and they say, "Oh, Dad, please, stop this hippie stuff." Like they don't want to hear about it. When I say that you should meditate when they're stressed out, and they don't want to do that. But I'm sure that they see my example, and no, it's not what I say to them, that it's what they see that I do. So I'm sure that they learn valuable lessons from my actions and not from my words. And I think it has and will impact them in a way. They'll see how that challenges blindness in life. If he can somehow overcome that, I can overcome the things that I'm dealing with, and that's also that's the motivation behind what I'm doing. I want to show that to people. It makes sense for me to turn my shitty eye situation into something that gives value to people and to myself. And every time I see that spark in someone's eye because I say something that encourages them to go and change something in their life, I was destined to tell the story so people will be inspired. And so, and that's sort of a choice you have, right? I am the copywriter and the director of my life and my story, and I can make that story. I can convince myself of that story, and it makes me feel better, and it makes everything feel that there's a purpose behind this, and to have to accept it and do the best I can with it. And that's my inspiration and motivation for doing this.
Yeah, I definitely think people have to find their own path. They come across meditation, they come across mindfulness, personal development when it's right in their life. And I believe it's true with spirituality or religion. For some people, all of a sudden something happens in their life where they turn to religion and spirituality because they need that in their life. And so I think you bring up a really valid point that your family has been supportive along the way, but this is not their path 100%. They'll come to whatever path they're led down.
I was supposed to give this TEDx speak in April last year. It was just in March, everything was locked down here in Denmark, so it was moved to 23rd of January, but because of the COVID situation, it was pushed again. So when I published the book, it was the plan that I was going to give that talk in April, but then everything was pushed. So I haven't done it yet. So I have been I've been ready to do it, and then it was canceled. And then I was, I was working really hard during the Christmas. It's really something special to give a TEDx, because it's such a focused 15 minutes. You really have to be totally 100% focused there, and know what you want to say, and be really, really clear in that message you want to convey. So I was really practicing and concentrating, and then I got a mail that, oh, sorry, we have to to push it again. But it has been quite different from. No, I've been giving a lot of talks over the last 2-3 years, but every time I was giving a talk, it was me just telling my story, and I did it differently every time. And sometimes I was emphasizing this part of my journey, and other times I did something completely else, and I never knew what I was going to say. I just had people in front of me, and I had a sort of a presentation, but it was just to help me. And this time it was really, I have to sort of say these words in order for me to tell this story right in 15 minutes. So that was a different thing, because I had to start remember, instead of just being there in the moment and just open my mouth and talk, which I can do for hours and hours. But here was, I have to memorize stuff. And I just realized my brain hadn't memorized anything for like 20 years since I went to school. So it was really tough for my brain to sort of being that memory mode. So I was so exhausted from trying to memorize words. And but I'm looking forward. I think I'm gonna. For me, it's just a great experiment. That just the way I was accepted was also kind of an intention I set 66 months prior to my acceptance as a TEDx speaker. I made a plan in my mind. I said, I want to be on that stage, and it's going to be within a year. And then I started just meditating on that every day. I made some self what do you call it, guided meditation for myself with my own voice, telling me how this is going to feel. And I was, experiencing it every day. And I even made this little image of me being on the TEDx stage in Denmark, Odense, with my presentation in the background. And I looked at that every day. And at a point, I was just convinced that it had happened. And I was doing all the things right for me to get noticed by the TEDx team. And one day I was just, I got a mail that said, do you want to be on the TEDx team? And I was kind of amazed about it. It really worked. I was projecting it, I was visualizing it, and I kept telling myself it has happened. And then one day it just happened. I think it was I was just in shock when I was accepted and said, oh, it really worked. And I tried to do that with many things now, and it's something I think I see it as something I want to do. I start visualizing it really, really intensely in my mind, and often, suspected, or what do you say? Things just happened out of the blue sky, where I just think, oh, that's amazing, and I'm just gonna say yes to it, because I feel that will take me to where I want to be. So again, allowing the moment to dictate what the next moment will be is
Yeah, I love the visualization. Vic and I have talked a lot about how he asks us to write our experience list, and not just write the things that we want to do, but what we think it's going to feel like, or what the weather is going to be that day, or if you're eating something, what it's going to taste like, and kind of like always cultivating that in your head. And so I love that you had like your vision board, and you're looking at it and thinking about it and feeling what you think it's going to feel. So I can only imagine how exciting when you finally get up there and do it and all this good stuff. Hopefully that expectation exceeds what you've perceived it's going to be. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, some good power of positive thinking, putting law of attraction into place.
This was super fun for me. I feel like I am ready to go tackle my day. My cup feels super full. Just listening to you talk is really inspiring. And I love that like most of your talk was like, hey, this is what happened to me for like 10%. And then like, now let's talk about all the really good stuff, right? So I love that you just don't focus on what's limiting you and just like unlocking potential with everything you're doing. It's like, what else can I do? What else is possible? And so, yeah, I'm just in a really positive mindset now. I love this. This was really, really exciting for me. So hopefully everyone that's listening or watching loves it too, because I feel very inspired for the rest of my day now. So thank you. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
My
definitely
pleasure.
touched on it, Chelsea. I mean, I know when I came across Morten and we met, that I was reading quickly about his story, and I was like, I love the fact that he has a great story, and we talk about it all the time that everyone has a story. It's what part of that do they want to share? But what I fell in love with was the fact that you were like, this is everything else that I want to experience or that I'm going to experience, and that I'm writing a book about it. And it was so positive that I was like, let's get him on here. We want to hear his journey. But I really want to stress to everyone else, be sure to pick up a copy of his book right here. For those in the United States, it's available on Amazon. I will post a link to Morten's website on our show notes, as well as on the podcast, as well as on our website. So it'll be available, and we'll continue to share our thoughts as we get through the book, because we just opened it and we're excited to kind of go through and hear so much more about you. And then when you're ready and you have more things to talk about, we'll bring you back onto the podcast for another episode down the road, because we're going to keep in touch with you. You're now officially a friend of ours. So we got friends all over the world now.
Oh, I love that. I love it. That's the great thing about, that's actually one of the best things about putting out the book. I have met so many people, wonderful people that have inspired me, but also friends that I never expected to find anywhere. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the COVID-19 situation, that we get in touch with people we would never ever get in touch with, because we have all these great tools that can connect us with. It's amazing. We're talking, live right now with each other, and I'm in Denmark. There are thousands of miles of space between us, and it's just amazing. And I just want to say also that the book is also available on Audible as an audiobook, and I narrated the book myself. And the difference there is actually that I tell the story with sort of a put in voices, and there are some effects. There are some characters in the book called the Lettermen, and they are kind of a mystery. Who are they and what are they doing in there? And they have different sort of characters and characteristics, and so the audio version is sort of spiced a little bit with some effects, and also very fun to listen to.
Yeah, we get the personality there.
I know. I enjoy like books on tape when I'm in the car. I'm not a big fan of driving. I don't love traffic. So yeah, that's when I can really enjoy that. So maybe I will do it on Audible, because that will give me something exciting to listen to in the car. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I
Awesome.
only listen to books.
I'm very similar. I mean, there's books I will pick up, and then there's books that I like to pop in the earbuds and just listen to, because I get to engage with the author, especially when the author is the one who's actually reading the book on Audibles. Then it's even more fun because you get that personality behind it. And I think once people meet you via this video chat, and for those listening, we're going to have video clips on YouTube as well as on our IGTV. But I think once they see you and they get to really engage with your personality, they're going to fall in love with you, and they're going to want to pick up the audiobook as well. So the book, again, is called Sentenced to Blindness, Now What? Let's see, right there. So be sure to pick up a copy. Morten will totally appreciate your guys' support. And yeah, we can't wait to have you back for another episode.
I would love to. It was so great to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for honoring saying yes. I was excited all week, looking forward to this.
Great.
Awesome. Well, have an amazing
appreciate it.
evening. I know it's getting late in Denmark. We will see you soon. Thanks.
Yeah, great to connect. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.